Nick Wright, co-host First Things First. So it's interesting.
Can we talk about that? Hold on. Can we stay on the college football thing just for a second?
All right.
I know that's not what you brought me on. I just wanted. Can we show your map again?
Which one?
Can I ask a question about it?
Okay, go ahead.
The Colin's ideal college football map.
Yeah.
Okay. So one request and then one question. The request is you were like, hey, Penn State can represent, the Northeast. Why don't we put a team that's actually in the Northeast representing the Northeast? Why not replace Penn State with Syracuse? Donovan McNabb, Marvin Harrison, great legacy. Let's just consider it, Colin. But more importantly is this. Okay, that's fine. Why does Notre Dame have to be on there? Why don't we kick Notre Dame out and put Ohio State on there?
Because Notre Dame is an independent brand. They're the biggest independent brand ever. And I think there's value. You already have the Big Ten represented. So in my map with Penn State and Michigan, this is not a slight to Ohio State, but Notre Dame has the greatest sidewalk alumni. So I like that.
Yeah, but okay. But you know what was another great independent brand? Sears and Roebuck. But it's also something of the past. No young people care about Notre Dame. Let's get Ohio State or something else. But otherwise, the reason I wanted to bring it up was I actually think this is great. I think this is, with those minor tweaks, I think you're exactly right that what works against college football is its regionalness, if that's a word.
Yeah.
And if this could happen, it would be great for the sport. I actually think you're right. Now go ahead. I'll stop hijacking your show.
Okay, well, I thought about something the other day. I talked about it on our podcast before I brought you on. I said, I think you could make an argument that Kevin Durant is the first sports victim of social media. Is that I believe if there's no Twitter, no Instagram, Kevin Durant doesn't hear, and he loves, he's a single guy with a lot of money going home, and he's on that device. He does not hear, you're a sellout, you joined the team you couldn't beat. Like when he left Westbrook, I got it. He and Westbrook didn't work together, in my opinion. Westbrook's too ball-centric. But there was no reason to leave the Warriors. It was the constant chirping that he was a sellout, and if social media was not here, he would have stayed. But be that as it may, now he's in Brooklyn. Now he has said, according to Shams Charania, that I want Nash gone, Sean Marks gone, or I'm gone. What did you make of that?
I don't think Kevin Durant actually wants those guys fired. I think he just wants to be traded. I think if he wanted Sean Marks and Steve Nash fired, he would have gone to Joe Tsai a month ago when he did the original trade demand, and he would have quietly and privately said, listen, if you don't fire these guys, I'm going to demand a trade. I read this very differently than most. I read this as Kevin Durant asking for something he knew he would not get in order to make it untenable for them to bring him back, because he was starting to get concerned that they might actually bring him back. And so this was him upping the ante to a level that is pretty unprecedented. Like, Colin, it is still mentioned to this day that Magic Johnson got his coach fired. Remember, Magic went to Jerry Buss and said, I want you to fire the coach or trade me, and they fired the coach the next day. We still remember the Dwight Howard, Stan Van Gundy moment when Stan's like, yeah, Dwight asked for you to be fired. Players flatly demanding a coach getting fired is not unprecedented, but it's extreme. A player demanding a coach and general manager get fired, I have no precedent for it, at least not in modern NBA history. And it's why I think Durant understood Joe Tsai's not going to do it. And they also, I don't believe, can ask Steve Nash to now coach Kevin Durant. I think it was actually a really smart move if his single goal is to get traded, and I think that is his single goal, is to make sure the Nets trade him.
Obviously, Westbrook doesn't work with AD and LeBron or anybody at this point in his career, so Chris Haynes wrote a story with multiple sourcing, and the four primary things that Rich Paul, LeBron, Rob Pelinka, and Darvin Ham agreed with. The four things, we put them down. They all appear to be shots at Westbrook, which is be less selfish, get along with others, be willing to play a new role, and the offense will run through AD. So AD wasn't at the meeting either, but none of these appear to be a shot at AD, who actually plays very well with others and has played the 5 and the 4. This felt like, to me, hey, Westbrook, you and your agent better figure out what we're going to ask of you day one of practice. That's how it landed for me. What say you?
Yeah, I think that's right, but I also think the Lakers are not planning to have Russell Westbrook on the roster. I think that I think the Lakers are planning for Brooklyn to blow up and for them to get Kyrie Irving and for Russell Westbrook to be gone. And that if that doesn't happen before the season, that will happen during the season. Listen, the Lakers obviously cannot compete for a championship with the roster as it is presently constituted. And there is a chance they are going to have to go into the season with the roster as presently constituted. I would be personally, Colin, absolutely shocked if the Los Angeles Lakers, after the trade deadline, still have Russell Westbrook on the team. So I think they are going to try to, create an offense and a system that could work despite Russ. But listen, I had Russ on my 50 greatest players the last 50 years. He is an all-timer. He also, however, as Colin Cowherd predicted, has not aged well. And this last act of his career is even by the biggest skeptics, I don't know that they could have imagined it going this poorly. And there is no working around it. And I saw in the article that they believe Russ is going to become a more reliable corner three-point shooter. You don't have a $47 million a year defensive liability who you hope can become an adequate corner three-point shooter. With that said, on the right team whose goal is not to win a championship but is to put butts in seats and get from 30 wins to 40 wins, Russ still might have some value. So I think the Lakers, all of their Russell Westbrook plans, Colin, are actually plan C and D, because plan A is Kyrie and plan B is that trade with the Pacers we've been hearing about for years, or for the last year and a half. I think they only are doing this in case they are forced to start the season with Russ.
Well, as a lot of the better quarterbacks in the league are very focused, I saw some video of Mahomes screwing around behind the back stuff, lefty throws, very disturbing. I don't have them winning their division. I do have them making the playoffs. This kind of goofing around stuff. You don't see Brady doing a lot of that. But be that as it may, or Russell Wilson. I always feel like you do believe that Mahomes doesn't get the respect he deserves. I think he does. I think we love everything about him. But
not on this show.
Well, I have
not on this show. I mean, I had to listen for a year. He has to win a big game. You have the Denver Broncos winning the division. Is that correct?
I do.
Is that correct? Okay, Colin, I have known you personally for over 6 years.
Yeah.
I feel like I've known you my entire life, but you and I met in person in the fall of 2016. Since we've known each other.
Yeah.
Do you know how many times the Broncos have beaten the Chiefs?
How many times?
0. They haven't beaten them since 2015. They play twice a year, buddy. And now you're giving them the division. So, yeah, I don't think he gets the full respect he deserves. He had a bad 3 weeks of football, and folks were anointing Josh Allen, and they're anointing Justin Herbert, and you have the audacity to say you don't see Russell Wilson doing that type of stuff. You see Russell Wilson doing everything else on his YouTube channel and his TikTok feed, and my God. He's more active on social media than Jake Paul these days, yet somehow Mahomes, who, by the way, let's be fair. What did we see Mahomes working on there? A left-handed pass and a behind-the-back pass. Oh, he would never use that in a game. Except for he beat the Denver Broncos on national television with what on fourth down? A left-handed pass to save the game. And the behind-the-back pass, I've been saying this on First Things First. A little birdie in my ear has told me the behind-the-back pass, not for 30 yards, but more likely at the goal line, is going to make an appearance in a football game this year.
Oh.
And you think that's crazy, but you have seen Andy Reid, Colin's in a weird place because he's got Mahomes as like the 7th best quarterback in football, but Andy Reid's going to become the greatest coach of all time thanks to Patrick Mahomes. It's like he's just locked in a glass case of emotion there. But Andy Reid has had Travis Kelce throw goal line passes. You remember Dontari Poe was 350 pounds. He threw goal line passes. They do a lot of tricky stuff at the goal line. And the little Mahomes rollout with behind-the-back pass to Isaiah Pacheco, the 7th-round pick they love, or Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That's coming. And so, yeah, but I love it. Underdog Chiefs. Nobody believed in us Chiefs. All they've done is host 4 straight AFC championship games. You're giving the Broncos the division. Okay, yeah, the Russell Wilson-Cortland Sutton combo is going to take over the AFC West. Sure, buddy.
Finally, it is, for years and years, people thought, I was a Patriot homer, and I appreciated Brady's discipline, and he wasn't flashy. I think I'm disciplined. I mean, the guy doesn't drink a beer during the NFL season. I'm not that disciplined. But he has left, and the Patriots now appear to me to be veering off the interstate. Like, it's a mess. Yesterday, I saw Mac Jones at the podium. He looked dejected. They got 3 defensive coaches coaching offense. They have the most expensive receiving core in the league and nobody that can separate. What do you make? I have said, I think Miami's going to take a leap. I don't think New England's a playoff team. What do you make of what they're doing to Mac Jones?
Of course not. Well, listen, I think the whole thing is barreling towards a wildly disappointing season. And I agree with you, they're not a playoff team. They have, you said, the most expensive receiving core. They have also, by a factor of almost 50%, the most expensive tight end room in football. No other team in the league is spending $20 million on their tight ends. The Patriots are spending $30 million on theirs. There's one other team in football spending $50 million on their receivers and tight ends combined. The Patriots are spending $70 million on theirs. And you might say it's the most by a mile. The league average is $35 million. And in one school of thought is, well, that's what you do. You have a rookie or a quarterback on a rookie contract. You spend all this money to surround him with weapons. It sounds great, but they got the expensive part right. They got the weapons part wrong. Is it possible the Patriots have not only the most expensive group of pass catchers in the league, but the least impressive?
Yes.
Like, what team in the AFC has a less impressive group of pass catchers? The Jaguars overpaid their guys, but Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, and Marvin Jones all have one thing in common. All of them would be the Patriots' number 1 receiving threat by a mile.
Yeah.
So you have all that. You lost not only Josh McDaniels, but he took the whole offensive, staff with him. So you have an uncertainty at coaching staff. I think a quarterback who, again, I will remind people, everyone acknowledged Mac Jones was going to be the most pro-ready of the young quarterbacks. So why was he the last one taken in the first round? Because everyone also acknowledged that a guy who was the 160th ranked recruit coming out of high school doesn't have as high of a ceiling as the others. And so could we see that Mac Jones, as opposed to the other young quarterbacks taking a leap, that he stays about static, but now with a tougher schedule, without Josh McDaniels, where teams are not just selling out to stop the run, that he struggles? Absolutely. I threw this bet out at Patriots homer Kevin Wiles on the TV show this morning, Colin. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars will win as many or more games than New England Patriots this year. I believe in the Trevor Lawrence jump. I believe in the coaching of Doug Peterson in that regard. And I think the Patriots have a rude awakening in for them. Their first 4 weeks of the season, they're going to be underdogs in every game except for against Pittsburgh. The last 6 weeks of the season, they're underdogs in every game except for home against Miami. Yeah. I think 7-10 is absolutely the likely outcome for the Patriots.
Well, and also the Jags play in a terribly wonky division where I don't think Tennessee's as good.
Yep.
And I mean, let's be honest about it. Buffalo is so far and away ahead in that division. That's 2 losses. They can't literally force Belichick, the greatest defensive coach ever, has not forced a punt in the last 2 games against Josh Allen. And Miami's made massive offensive strides. I don't think that's crazy. I think they're both going to be about 7-8 win teams. I think that's right on. How about that?
Buffalo, by the way, another team who's quarterback you've anointed ahead of Mahomes, even though he's never beaten Mahomes in a big spot. Either way, why is it? How did it work, Colin, that because Josh Allen doesn't get the football, they changed the rules? But 4 years ago, when your beloved Tom Brady wins a coin flip against Patrick Mahomes, and Mahomes never gets to touch the football, nobody says a mumbling word. Well, Mahomes should have started his career off with the Super Bowl. Never touched football. Nobody cares. Oh, Josh Allen doesn't get touched football. Here's an idea, Buffalo. You had the lead with 13 seconds left. Keep it. instead of making them change the rules for you. It's outrageous. Had to get that in. I'm still mad about it.
Nick
Talk
Wright.
to you later.
Well appointed, as always. He looks fantastic. The summer and the suits are doing him well. Nick Wright.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.